mirrored from that game 2, exactly the same, no changes. And RNG once again going for that Xin Zhao, which, you know, in fairness, it's a strong pick, but you see LNG answer the exact same. Now we are seeing the Varus change. We get the Ezreal instead of the Varus, so maybe not as much early pressure, but a bit more in terms of sustained DPS later. And this is another adaptation from LNG. Last time we saw them take the Trundle third. This time they'll take the Lucian. I actually really want to see RNG ban away the Trundle. I think it's really powerful with the Ziggs, although in fairness, it's not as good into Ezreal. That is one thing to think about, is that Trundle is a big threat to a mobile carries. Ezreal kind of eliminates that. So maybe that's the reason the Ezreal has been brought out here. Maybe as a result, they're not going to prioritize the Trundle.
Yeah.
And potentially see if Lwandy's going to go on something else.
Aux, we're really hitting through this pick ban, so I want to get through this quick. I'm worried seeing a Renekton for LNG. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on, Lwandy on the Leona. Couple of solo lane bans, but there's the Lucian. So already, Xiaohu on a lane that can dominate, and we have a crap load of poke from RNG rounding into game 3.
Yeah, and the fact that you have these double AD carries on your team as well means a lot of threat in terms of that. Now, it looks like it is going to end up being that Renekton in the top lane, so not going to be a fun time into Lucian. Icon will default back to his Ryze, which we've seen so many times before. You know, we're going to have LNG will need a bit of time to get rolling on the bot side, right? You want mana behind Ziggs and Ryze. They take a bit of time before they can just shred waves. So in the early levels, I think RNG across the board are going to be pretty comfortable, right? They're going to have Lucian, who's got the range advantage top. Syndra can push in pretty much anyone in the mid lane. And again, into the Ziggs bot lane, you feel really comfortable with an Ezreal. So this is a game where Wei can put a stamp down in the early levels. And if he's able to do that and find some threats, will be really far behind, and those two champions are champions who will struggle if they are behind. They won't really ever find momentum in the game. Things like Merc Treads then end up having a lot of value for Wei, becomes hard to kill. So I really want to see Wei try and be proactive on this early game. You have the tools to do so.
All right, mid, top, there's the lanes for you for Wei. Let's see how this Xin Zhao gets his priority up, as it's just a ward placed towards the top side. Backing for the lens, I believe, from the Xin Zhao, while LNG playing defensively up in this top side. You already talked about compositions as well. I want to note that Icon on something that can move, that can actually hit either of those side lanes, is really important when coming into the series, Aux. We mentioned that Cryin, picks like Twisted Fate, the Ryze itself as well, the Galio, the Nocturne is also there. Cryin hasn't had his hands on any of those picks this game, and so he's been stuck in the lane all about how well he does, and not how he can affect the side lanes of RNG.
Yeah, and he hasn't necessarily been sort of the strongest laner, I would say. I mean, by a decent margin, in fairness, in the LPL season. It's very much been what he can do on the map, and he's fulfilled that role well, but in situations like this where he is needing to be a bit more independent against Icon and has struggled. But here on the Syndra, you should be very comfortable in this matchup, just able to shove the wave quite freely, whereas Ryze takes a bit more time to get going. Ever since the buffs to Syndra to lower Q mana cost early, it's kind of hard to lose priority on that champion, and it essentially just means that RNG are in a comfortable spot across the board.
At least this game, though, looking at bottom lane as we pan over, Ezreal, Ziggs, there's a Rell, a Leona. It's like, well, for now, we'll leave Gala and Light to their own devices. I'm curious as to if Lwandy and Ming can get that roaming off that we talked about so heavily. Xiaohu going in melee range, but he doesn't care. He hits 2 first, he blasts Ale for a little bit. Even in the bottom lane, there's a Ferromancer crash down. The Attractor Repel onto Lwandy. Exhaust is down. The Mystic Shot will force a flash in the end. Big pick up here for RNG's 2v2.
Yeah, so I really like this play from Ming and Gala. They could have pushed the early wave quite hard, but they didn't. They actually let level 2 be about a similar time, but they got it slightly quicker. And because of that, Light and Lwandy stayed around too long. They were like, oh, they're not pushing. I guess we can just stay for level 2. And then they end up getting pushed for heavily. Now, Tarzan, he's looking for an angle
here. That's a flash from Ale as well. Sonic Wave flashed away from. Meanwhile, and Tarzan won't be able to follow up. It's flash for flash out of our 2 top laners.
And this is actually great for RNG, because you trade summoners, and I know the Lucian can be a bit more vulnerable without that, but critically, you get information on where Tarzan is. And if you look at the lanes, top lane, heavily pushed in. Bot lane, heavily pushed in. Cryin is a little bit low on mana here, but Icon is in a much worse position. So this is now a spot where Wei could easily double scuttle. He's going to prioritize the top side scuttle because he knows that's where Tarzan is. And he's not even going to take the bot side scuttle. He's going to let his bot lane do it for him. So again, this is the power of having triple priority in the lanes, this heavy denial. And you look at the state of the lanes, Bot lane, we saw Lwandy burn both summoners. Top mid lane, I think Icon might be in trouble.
Yeah, he is in trouble. He's just teleported into a Xin Zhao, who wind becomes lightning once again. Audacious charge, no, it's a flash knock up the attractor repel from Ming. The timing's perfect. They're still skirmishing, and they've got a Syndra. Dangerous for LNG as once again the W comes out, but Arle's on the flank. It's another TP, and LNG are collapsing. RNG now with a slow TP themselves, but Tarzan's already picked up the kill. Disaster for RNG. Xiaohu's in the middle. The Lucian now trying to scatter the weak. Beautiful from Cryin. Sonic Wave again. Tarzan survives, but Cryin with a quick auto. Icon's next. It's Light and Ming going head-to-head with Cryin right in the mix. 2 versus 1. Lwandy's coming in. Cryin flashes away. Ming wants to get over the wall, but a good scatter of the week. Someone just needs to kill Rell. 3 for 2 Orcs. Again, the early game's wild.
What an absolute fiesta, but I have to say, RNG didn't move the AD carry there, so Gala's getting alone time, and Arle once again missed farm. He's at 4 CS, by the way, at almost 5 minutes. 4 CS. Rell has 4 CS, right? He is going to pick up some farm now, but, you know, this fight, I feel like, even though it's close in terms of the kills, does favor RNG because they bring 3 members initially. They aren't able to connect on Icon quickly. It gives time for LNG to navigate and bring members, but they end up overcommitting compared to the result. I think, you know, I don't sort of blame them for bringing Light in, but the problem is, like, the kills end up trading quite evenly across this because Xiaohu comes in, starts dealing a ton of damage, and all while this is going on, Ezreal is just farming up a storm, so it just ends up being a favorable scenario for the side of RNG here.
Especially since Cryin and Ming were able to get away. Cryin with 2 kills, and we were just talking about this mid laner not being a focus Orcs. You know, his laning phase has been good. Well, it sure as hell is now. Despite being down 10 CS against Icon, 2 kills on a Syndra. Cryin set up for success, and you talked about the favorable trade for RNG. They do have a gold lead after the play with 1,000 as they're targeting onto Cryin. Lwandy not going to get that, and just lucky the fact he didn't aggro. And as he walks away, it is survivability here. As meanwhile, on the top lane, there's the culling, and Arle's not 6, so he just gets blasted. Let's pause. Orcs, it's 45 CS to 15.
Yep. So when that last fight happened and Arle joined, he was on 4 farm. The wave, when he came back to lane, was pushing into Xiaohu. So he picked up some CS, but not much. And now, Xiaohu is trying to zone him off this wave as well. This Renekton's having an awful time, and I like that they brought the Lucian in specifically to punish this, but now LNG are looking to respond.
And that's a good realm warp. Tarzan doesn't have kick. Arle's going in, but he's already dead now. It's a 2v2 before health bars can even be committed. Tarzan, he's up for it next. The Sonic Wave doesn't matter. A double kill over the way as Icon wants to get the claim himself. A dodge away from Xiaohu. Beautiful stuff as RNG secure the triple.
And this is the RNG we've been waiting for. Where he goes top lane, they are strong enough to instantly burst out Arle, and then they win the subsequent 2v2. Xiaohu is massively fed, Wei is massively fed, and LNG, things are starting to look rough. That 2-0 doesn't mean anything if you can't get that 3rd game.
That's right. At this point as well, just remember that 3.5k separates the gold on top of our screens at 7 minutes in the game. And as Xin Zhao that gets early prowess is dangerous as Ming goes for the all-in, but Gala, he arcane shifts away that satchel charge. Gorgeous from Light. The 2v2 still kicking off as he goes to his death. It's Lwandy dropping down Gala with a slither of HP. Tarzan to finish it off. The king of the jungle returns, and on to Ming. He'll help Light get the kill down, but Cryin with the scat of the week hits Light, unleashes hell for one more auto. He walks away too early.
Doesn't quite have the follow-up, was wary of Tarzan, and so you see Light just survive in a sliver of HP. Still, it does end up being that 1-for-1 overall, and RNG still ahead, but, you know, LNG have to be happy they managed to get away with that. And now Light trying to stay on low health, but yeah, so here's the replay. Arle already chunked in level 5. He is pretty much useless at this point, and they instantly delete him. And now, in the subsequent fight, the Ryze does a lot of work, but Ryze isn't really that strong at this point. He gets an overload, but basically all they have to do is just not get hit by this follow-up, and Icon has nothing left. Both of these auto-attackers able to clean up the skirmish,
God, we're
and now
fighting
Icon...
again. He's deep. He's really, really deep. Wei has the Crescent Guard, excuse me, slip of the tongue. And Cryine's joining as well, so Icon doesn't want to go any further, but the Ryze still, remember, has about 15 CS in the advantage, so Icon's trying to push the limit, trying to make a name for himself here in this series, and return to that Game 1 form.
And I think the way I want to sort of talk about this early game is we saw RNG with triple prio lanes and a really strong early jungler. We've seen bot lane struggle. We've seen mid lane do okay, in fairness, for Icon, but top lane is an absolute disaster. And the thing is, LNG keep trying to contest, despite the fact that we said they kind of need time. They need Light and Icon to be getting some levels in their abilities, getting some mana behind them to be relevant. But the problem is, because you contested so many times, because your top lane is in the shambles, because Waves had free reign, you're now in a position where you're so far behind, it's difficult to see when you start to catch up, right? Because we're going to hit this mid game where Syndra is so powerful, where Ezreal spikes really hard, and I think LNG are very much going to struggle to find their way back in this game. And something I said earlier was that the only AD on the side of LNG is Renekton Lee Sin. Renekton, massively far behind. Lee Sin, less so, but still, they aren't really going to be massive threats.
I mean, Ale is almost 40 CS behind. Xiaohu now has Gale Force and a tier stacking up. That's a Renekton with a Ruby Health Crystal. And boots. And 2 pots. So, that's not as sexy as a Gale Force, let's be quite real. And I think noting that we have a Gore Drinker on way at this point in the game is massive. When Dragon's up, when the Herald was just taken as well. RNG can push the tempo of this game. And Aux, coming back to your point and how you said it's hard to see LNG coming back in, I do want to see RNG transition to the mid game in a more successful manner. I want to see them use the lead and take over the game further and end it out. Because remember game 1, remember what happened when Xiaohu was so far ahead. Different compositions, but the same team.
Yeah, and I think a big thing is that the Ryze later might actually be able to answer Xiaohu in the side lane. He's going to be able to clear up waves. The Rell Morp is something he can use to move around the map. And Ziggs makes it very hard to do a Baron. So a lot of aspects that you can lean to later, which is why it's good to see RNG trying to keep the momentum going. I want to see a fast pace for them here to secure this. They're going to chunk out Ale. They're trying to get that 3rd plate so they can throw the Herald down. And there's no response yet, but you see Icon and Tarzan moving over. I think RNG, they do have the TP from Cryin to back them up if they need it, but they're just going to throw the Herald down.
But Ming's here, and there's a culling onto Ale. He has to back away as the gold shared from the Herald. Dominus used. Wind becomes lightning for a tag, but Ming's on the way with a bit of a storm as well. Good attract and repel as he comes through with the Magnet Storm, and Xiaohu picks up the kill onto Ale. Another Renekton on LNG, who started 0-3.
Yeah, I mean, Renekton's just not working for LNG right now. Icon's going to have to back away, and they will be able to take that first tower and give a ton of gold over the side of RNG. 5,000 gold lead at 11 minutes into the game. They're in a really comfortable position. And again, Ming was there first. Lwandy wanted to move over, but was later. And this Ezreal is in a perfectly fine position, just stay in bot lane. In fact, might actually even look for something onto Ziggs.
If he hit that, Light would have been in a lot of trouble.
Threat is there.
I mean, Divine Sunder is coming up soon as well, right? The tier stacking up, everything working perfectly with 4 members having a bounty. True Shot Barrage is starting to hurt as well. Orcs, first dragon hasn't been taken. That looks like it belongs to RNG. And getting into this mid game, I want to talk to you more about side lanes and what you do here as RNG, because you have a Lucian who, at this point, can't really be matched by anyone.
Yeah, I think playing the essentially what you would do is you'd have Lucian push pretty deep in a side lane, and then he backs off. And while he's in the fog of war, you can push through your other 2 lanes. I think you can consistently play around that, sort of in the mid game. But especially now you've already taken that top tower, it gives him the window to do so. The thing is, though, you're so strong, you don't even need Lucian to sort of set that up for you. He can just catch the top wave, you can take the dragon. LNG are in no position to contest right now.
No, especially with Tarzan getting spotted up in the top side, just making a trade, and Xiaohu being wary, backing off the wave, giving some plating over to Ale. Desperately needed at this point for LNG. Tarzan even spotted out by Xiaohu in the end as well. Has Gale Force and feels pretty confident. As Dragon gets taken, we do have a Cloud or a Mountain Rift coming through. It would be beneficial if all you have to deal with as LNG is a Cloud Rift. You say, okay, that gives us time to get some of our scaling, get the Ziggs and Ryze into the game.
Yeah, and I think there is obviously aspects where the extra mobility can help you disengage. But, oh,
never mind. I mean, Tarzan's about to get a warm surprise, but into the fire instead. Tarzan, how's he going to get out of this? Cryin actually might be the one caught out, but unleashing power. Cryin now getting traded off. That's great for LNG if they can get out with the culling, making sure they can't. There's a shutdown over to Ale, much needed. But RNG are on the chase. Xiaohu's already used the Gale Force. Ale over the wall. Icon will have a blast cone as well. Wei coming through for the tag. Ming can't slam him down. And LNG trading That's good news.
Yeah, I mean, they go for a 1-for-1, and they're able to get some plates on the top lane tower. They lose that dragon, but the thing is, it's a very late dragon. Dragons are more valuable the sooner you can get them, because it sets up an earlier win con for that dragon soul. Having picked their first one up at about, 11 minutes, actually 12 minutes in the game, doesn't really set you up for that threat of soul for a very long time. So RNG, not exactly setting the fastest pace in this one, and LNG able to trade a bit, keep themselves in this one, but still at a massive deficit.
Yeah, they really are, and I mean, for LNG, talking positive about the play, I think it's important to note that the Renekton now picks up a kill. Ale will be closer to getting that first item, where he is still 40 CS behind getting that first item, so the Renekton can do Renekton things. As we look at the TP again from Cryin, it was deep, but it was on an LNG ward.
Yeah, and I think the value as well was the fact that we have the Ryze, who's able to move quite quickly.
True.
The Scuttle Shrine there also gives them movement speed. And there's a lot of burst damage here on a Tarzan, but the kick is nice on a Cryin, instantly locks that down. And then because they kind of disengage to respect LNG, they're just not able to get back in time, even with Ming there.
And important to note that you brought up Icon. Icon on the Ryze is a comfort pick that we talked about in Pick and Ban, but something importantly that can respond to these plays with those Realm Orbs. So Icon's always been there. He's always been looking to move. He has 20 CS. He's instant clearing these waves. I feel like he's someone to watch here in this game, as he and the Ziggs will just be trying to hold RNG off. Even right now, trying to keep RNG from this turret as they so desperately want to push mid.
And they'll be super relevant later in the game. They will be pretty massive threats, especially the Ziggs, I think, is going to be problematic for RNG, because no one can really match his range that effectively. Ezreal's okay, but still not really on the same level. But for now, it's kind of just LNG holding on and waiting for a better opportunity, whereas RNG are continuing to set the pace. They will pick up that Herald. And actually, I wouldn't mind this being used mid, because I think you're going to struggle to take it if Ziggs sets up camp there.
Okay, but there's a Realm Warp bot. This is a dive. This is a dive on top of Gala. Satchel Charge, Solar Flare, Arcane shifts back into the middle, cleanses, but there's no way you survive that. Lwandy helps with Tarzan getting the shutdown, and that gives Light a bit of pressure on this turret, and LNG once again getting a nice pick.
And you actually see Way's reset here, so he isn't in position mid now. They still end up getting this mid tower, I believe. It might actually not go down in time, depending if...
Oh, actually, they're getting something bot anyway. I mean, Way has flash. Way would flash this, of course he is. Wind becomes lightning on top of light. Meanwhile, mid, Icon dies as well. Just when I'm talking up LNG, RNG get 2 more, and it goes from bad to worse.
So I like the cross map from LNG. They knew the Herald was going down, so they go for the punish on a Gala. It's all great stuff. But the problem is, they then try to over-defend here. I think you could have just let the mid tower go. Icon potentially could have just like moved, stayed bot side to defend, or you could have had more people to defend, but instead they try to defend mid, they try to defend bot. You're split too thin when you're already behind, and so RNG are able not only to get that mid tower, but also to take the bot tower with the Herald, and they will get a second charge here. So a pretty massive advantage once again developing for RNG, and it's like, despite LNG make the initial right decision, the follow-up from that ends up biting them.
And great timing as well, right? Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. RNG can clear vision and set themselves up for that objective. So watch what happened mid.
Yeah, so I think Icon here doesn't really find his way back in soon enough. I honestly think you just walk around, right? Walk around through the jungle. If the tower goes, the tower goes. But then you'd actually be in a position to defend it. But I think playing games with a Syndra like that is a very dangerous thing. And Icon has been a bit risk-averse these last 2 games. Game 1, he's on LeBlanc, right? And in fairness, on LeBlanc, he can kind of get away with being risk-averse. It seemed like in this game and also the Renekton game, he is being embracing death a little bit too much.
Embracing death. Exactly right. Icon's definitely been embracing death the past 2 games, and will he get away with it this time around? Well, he's looking for the dive top laner at least. No, he's not. That's not even Icon. That's just 3 members of LNG with the Magnet Storm, the Tractor Repel, the Culling as well. Solar Flare doesn't connect on the target. They can 2v3 this. LNG is so deep as well, and Gala with the True Shot Barrage tags them deep. But the rest of RNG are not following it up. They've got their eyes set on the bottom lane, and LNG just can't catch a break.
I will say, though, that again, we're seeing the cross map, right? It's once more LNG going for something on the other side of the map from what they know RNG will be doing. RNG set up for the dragon, LNG go for a tower on the top side, and although they're not able to find more, and although it's a trade of towers, which RNG will win, that tier 2's worth more gold, they also got the dragon, LNG are 6,000 gold down. If you're trading even unevenly, if you're getting something, that's pretty positive. And I think it's the fact that LNG are finding these windows, which gives me hope for this game, right? From their perspective. RNG still in control, still established in that lead, but LNG are not out of it yet. And they keep finding windows just to get a bit of gold here, a bit of gold there, take a tower down. And again, they're leaning towards the point where Light and Icon can be a lot more relevant.
But need to get there first, right? Only one item here. I like that you're talking to me the perspective of them, while Xiaohu not caught out, Zenith Blade dodged away from. He's got Serelda's Grudge as well, so note that he's going to be slowing a hell of a lot here against LNG. Tarzan invades bottom side, RNG invading top side. And Ming on the aggressive. Top side wave building as well. Arle's going to have to be careful. A lot of dive on RNG that we talked about, but they're going to try and get in a turret for.
Yeah, I mean, when Lucian gets the Grudge, the combo becomes so threatening because the culling just slows you down, but he's not able to step up because, again, it's that cross map, right? They know RNG has pushed in deep on the bot side. They know that they'll swap to the side of the map. LNG try and defend as best they can, but their focus is getting that tower on the other side. Now,
Arle going all in, gets it as well. Mega Inferno Bomb too. That's going to help to kill Wei. Arle bringing the Renekton credibility back until Wei kills him. It's a 1-for-1, but once again, LNG are the team behind.
Yeah, and they defended the tower critically. They get that bot lane tower for Icon. He's playing there, and he had the support of Tarzan. But Arle finds this engaged and is able to take out
and now Wei's in
Syndra.
trouble.
Now I think Wei's dead.
I mean, how do you get out of this one with Lwandy and Tarzan? There's the TP to help out your brother, but on top of Tarzan, he's surviving as long as he can, but Icon joins the fray, gets the shutdown of 800 gold, Orcs. That's huge. You can't give that away.
Yep, and this is LNG starting to claw things back. I was saying 6,000 gold just a couple of seconds ago. It's now 4,000. Light's in trouble. Oh, but does just survive there. Feels like LNG, again, this is not a team who are sitting back and accepting their fate. They're constantly pushing for ways to get back in the game. They're trading across the map. They're finding windows to punish, and it's working for them, right? The gold lead is getting smaller, and the thing is, even if the gold lead stays even, as the game goes on, it becomes less relevant. But the fact they're shortening it, I think RNG has to be a bit careful. It is a Cloud Soul, as we were talking about earlier. The mobility, it's nice, right? Xiaohu will appreciate that, but it's not exactly going to win them the game off the back of it. That's the thing. It's not like RNG getting Cloud Soul makes the game an auto win. And so LNG are in a pretty decent spot. They can keep looking for these opportunities to close the goal distance, and RNG are making mistakes.
The Renekton buff, I mean, this is what I talked about before, getting that first item. Renekton, such a strong carry on 1-2 items. It's scary for RNG fans out there because the gold gap, as you were saying, it was about 6,000, 6,500 a couple of minutes ago. After that play, now it's only 4. And at 21 minutes in, the Dragon, a minute 15 away. Baron's now live. RNG throwing pings down, trying to get aggressive in the enemy jungle onto Lwandy. They've found him. The Magnet Storm as well, attract the repel. This could be it, but for Ming, he's deep. He's low as well. The True Shot Barrage, Lwandy's not dead, and Arle's in for the flank. RNG have tunneled into this. They need to space out because Cryin and Gala are getting low. The culling helping out. Wei buying time onto Arle. He gets the backline, but sacrificed his own life. Cryin's now too deep, and here on the angle, Xiaohu's playing with danger. Tarzan and Lwandy are still alive as the Sonic Wave connecting, but Gala is dealing with light. He's dead too. RNG are doing it again.
They overstep, and LNG are happy to take the fight in that situation. That was a 5v5 in quotation marks, but 5 members of RNG were never hitting LNG. It was LNG who were grouped together like a tight-knit unit, and RNG was just a bit of a mess. You can see the strength of Gala on this Ezreal. You can see how strong Xiaohu is, but again, they weren't able to hit the same target. The positioning on the map, the terrain around made it very difficult, and RNG throw once more. And we can see that here. So this engage is just too deep, right? You don't instantly have the follow-up. You have the Renekton flanking, and we have so many situations here where it's all of LNG hitting a target, right? They're all hitting here. Cryan's trying to move in, but can't really. We see the Xin Zhao getting focused down. And again, Xiaohu's only just got here, but look at his positioning. He's miles away. So he tries to dash in to follow up. The carries are trying to get in the fight, but as soon as they do, they get jumped on. And this was just a poor fight, and now RNG, Looking to try and see if they can find a better one at Dragon.
And it's only 2,000 gold lead. LNG have come back, and Ale is now back into this game as well. 5 versus 5. Dragon secured by Tarzan. Solo play on the back line. But Wei is going so deep, he's by himself. But now with the Magnet Storm trying to bring it back. Ming is an absolute carry, an absolute god. RNG in with a chance now, trying to be the favorites. Cryin finally gets the massive scatter of the week. The orbs spread out. And Gala with the cleanup. Royal never give up. In with a chance, in with a penny, in with a pound. This game continues.
And you can certainly say they never gave up. They find the fight, even though they don't get the Dragon. The 2K goalie balloons once more to 5,000, and they're looking towards the Baron. They finally get a fight where all of them can hit the front line of LNG, where they can go one target at a time. Gala stepping forwards, Xiaohu stepping forwards. They're able to clean up, they're able to win the fight. 5-0, and now they'll secure the Baron.
Ming has just been on form. This game, I'll even say this series, I think Ming has been exceptional. And the result of RNG getting blasted, I mean, Ming, what are you going to do as a support? Once again, highlighting this man on his Rell has been the cornerstone and the cornerstone of this fight.
And we see in this situation, they're just not able to get close, and then so much space is brought here by Ming with this engage. Locks up all the members, allows Cryin, Gala, and Xiaohu to move forwards, and even the Mega Inferno Bomb, they just tank it. It's not enough of a deterrent at this point. They keep moving forwards, picking off member by member, and Gala is unleashed. He's finally got the space he loves to play with. It's something you always see in the team fights when RNG are doing well, is when his team can create space for Gala, and he just kept pushing forwards and is able to clean up. And now, 7,000 goal lead. RNG back in control.
Well, looking grim for RNG after the throw in the top side, but we're back in that 7K mark. And as you mentioned, Gala as well, looking really strong. Cryin is back into a commanding position. And Xiaohu too, I dare say, 5-1 and 8. Now with the QSS in his inventory to stop himself getting Rune Prison, Solar Flared, you name it. And RNG with the Baron buff, look at Xiaohu in the bottom lane setting up 4-1 for now, Aux, as they push and poke down.
And no one could really step up. You know, you have engage for my Lwandy, but, you know, Cryin has flash, Cryin has stopwatch, Gala has cleanse, Gala has arc and shift, Xiaohu's QSS, Gale Force, and his dash. There are no easy targets to go on right now. And if you can't engage, you're going to get chunked out, but they are looking for Xiaohu.
1v2, there's a QSS coming into fruition, the culling full taken by Ale. He
health?
just stands there. That's a solo kill 1v2 as Icon flashes on in, but blocked away from Cryin. LNG may have just signed the warrant for a game number 4. Royal never give up. It's in their name.
They managed to find a turnaround once more. It feels like they are back on form, what we expected from the series. Maybe just needed to wake up a bit, but they find the momentum. Xiaohu looks for the fight, managed to solo kill Ale in that situation, and the rest of the team come to clean up, and now they're looking to end. There's still 3 members of LNG up, but I'm not sure they can do anything here.
A lot of damage coming through from Light. RNG maintaining the 5-man with the minion wave. Solar Flare pushes back Cryin with the Sonic Wave. Light as well getting poked down, but RNG holds strong. Mega Inferno Bomb, the flash away, and Ming with the Magnet Storm. What do you expect? He may die, but RNG using space once again. But Gala, a little bit deep, doesn't matter. Cryin there as well. They're following through as Tarzan gets sent packing. A scatter of the week once more. Royal never give up. Playing with the skirmish, playing in front of the Nexus. Wei heals up. Now it's on to the Nexus. RNG for game 4 have done it. The series goes on.
And they managed to bounce back. Our MSI champions, our Spring champions are not going out on the back of a 3-0. They managed to find the early lead, and as much as there were those moments, right? LNG with some beautiful cross maps, LNG taking some favorable fights, the momentum was still there. There was still a goal lead. Ale wasn't strong enough to hold up against these carries, and critically, it felt like it was RNG dictating the fights. Yep. They did take some poor fights, I'll absolutely say, but it felt like they were the team who had the ability to disengage, but also the power of the Rell to go back in when they wanted to. And they found the windows, they found the favorable fight, and they're able to close it out. And it's absolutely a needed win, like obviously, because, you know, lose there and you're out. But this is the start, find that momentum in the series. And this game was a pretty positive one overall for them.
It was, because, look, RNG, you know, that fight came through an early game that they could be more proud of. You can see the gold lead on your screen, folks. But that throw was really worrying. LNG moved back within 2K, but in front of the Dragon. Ming gets MVP. Like, you cannot rob this one. We know in the past, Gala's taken it over Ming. If it's Wei or Ming, I'm happy. Anyone else, I feel like it's getting robbed. So, Ming on Rell to bring it up one more time. Just exceptional.
You know who isn't getting MVP? Renekton. This crocodile's looking a little bit stinky at the moment.
Yeah.
Game 2 didn't go too hot. Game 1, RLA. I mean, he actually found some windows to be useful, but that did not look like a fun laning phase. And I think we look at the draft in this situation. I'm not a fan. You know, I think even with a losing draft, you can still have winnable games. But here, RNG had priority in all 3 lanes. They had Xin Zhao, one of the strongest junglers on the current patch. And it felt like LNG had to kind of wait a bit longer, but they didn't want to, but they were kind of forced to. It's like that juxtaposition where if they don't do anything, they'll lose to that pressure from Xiaohu in the top lane, from the other laners as well. But if they do something, they're not in a position to. And I think that's where the issues came in. So I think LNG sort of pulled away from what's been working for them before, and I want to see them move back a little bit. I don't like the fact that they had this Ziggs and then a pretty inactive mid lane in the Ryze. I know we can get prior and rotate, but I want to see something with a bit more early presence.
So that something like Ziggs can always fall back on, right, Aux? You know, we saw it in game 2, where Light, you're able to fall back on someone like Light because, or never mind, Icon was proactive, but we know that he was 0 and 7, but more so, Light was a very different condition. So I guess what I'm saying is, in contrast here for LNG, when, you know, game number 2 was a great example. That game number 1, I think, as well, we can look at what LNG had, but this was just, you know, a great finish for RNG, where now we go to a game 4, and I'm not sure which way to swing it. It's still a hard task for RNG with the way LNG have been playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that game, again, I think different draft, LNG might have come back on that one because there were moments where they were finding windows, but it just felt like the early deficit, particularly on the Renekton, was too much of an issue. The Ryze and the Ziggs, you know, Ziggs was doing damage, but they never really came online. So I think RNG are still on the back foot, and they need to keep this momentum going, keep giving themselves the favorable tools. And I think the Varus hasn't worked, but the Ezreal allows them to play a lot more aggressively, but also that defensive aspect of the Arcane Shift.
We have to find out how the champion pool's going to go in game number 4, folks. We do have a series on our hands. LNG 2, RNG 1 with their first game of the series. To find out if we get another right after this short break.